Previously on Priami, I crashed into a tree. I fly through the air. And I stare at a tier list. As a quick intro, in case you haven't seen the first part, I challenged my Discord to build Group B rally cars and have been ranking them on their design, craftsmanship, and performance. I left them open to whatever design philosophy they wanted, so long as the cars can qualify for Group B. I'll explain the rest as we go, so let's not waste any more time and get into the first car. Alright, for those of you new here, the first step in looking at these cars is to figure out if they actually qualify for Group B. That means looking at the powertrain and figure out what class it's in, which for a 1.8 liter twin-charged engine, that means you gotta multiply its displacement by a factor of 1.4, getting you to a total CC of 2525. And if you want to ignore that rounding error and throw it the 2.5 liter class, that means the maximum width of its wheels has to be below 11 inches, which these are soundly below that. And it has to have a minimum weight of 890 kilograms, which is about 1,962 pounds. So despite whichever class you want to throw that in, this car does qualify. Alright, then moving into the design, I do like the look of it. I love a Mini Cooper. I love the whale tail. I love kind of the, colors of the Union Jack displayed on the livery. However, it would have been cool if this stripe up here actually got turned into a Union Jack. Not sure how much effort that would have been, but it would have been really cool to see. And also with the design, I noticed there is so many vents on this thing. Everywhere you look, every little facet, every little corner of this car has got some kind of a vent on it. It is ridiculous. It looks like a Civic Type R, but you know what? It's interesting. It's I'm not going to call it an eyesore, but it is a lot to look at. Alright, then moving into the interior, there are a few spots around here where a little bit more time and effort could have made this something really special. You can notice there's a little bit of clipping, a little bit of, just fixtures floating in the air. But, compared to some of the other cars, this is not a new thing. And so generally I like the look of the interior. I like the concept of the Mini Cooper and the, UK livery. And so let's go ahead and get this thing in beam and actually see how it drives. Alright, then the second part that goes into reviewing these cars is to actually get them out on the stage and see how fast we can get around. I typically give myself 3 attempts at this, so we'll just take the best one. Immediately, this thing's pretty quick off the line. Suspension is set up really well to take the bumps, I've noticed. And it's pretty well over the dirt section. And if you're wondering why the camera's like this, it's because there was no camera put into the interior in automation, and the wheel, the gauges, none of that stuff is animated. So we're just sticking with the one that we got from the exporter. Oh my god. It is pretty hard to drive at this angle, though. I should mention the gearing's actually set up really well, too. So, as soon as you shift, you're right back into that power band. So the brakes are a little hard to get used to. Oh, come on. Missing third there. It's probably a good idea to take it a little bit easier. Actually try and get around the stage this time. Alright, that last one didn't count. This time we're actually taking it a little bit easier. Trying to get around the still. Oh my god. I stand corrected. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's try not to die here. Just coming in real slow over the hump. Let's see if I can drift. Okay, wow. Stalled it. Come on. That one's just on me. Yeah, I mean, it seems to make pretty adequate power to poon around in. It's pretty fun. So it does get really loady when you get up to speed. You can't really see it, but I'm all over the place with the wheel. Okay, I am really worried about carrying speed through here, just because, again, it gets floaty. Oh, god. Yeah, I just don't think it has the downforce to handle high speed. And in defense to its creator, a lot of these cars are tested on controller, which I am not doing. I'm on a wheel, and I'm also just a bad driver. But I think I got a good enough feel for this car to give it a rating. Alright, now looking back into our Mini, I have noticed that on the Discord is a little bit of a fan favorite, and the livery is actually inspired by the Metro 6R4, I think it was, with, UK colors. So it would have been cool to see that Union Jack on top, but I'm not going to hold that against it. I think the design is really cool. It's inspired by Mini, the Metro, and a little bit of a Mark I Golf, the creator said. But again, a lot of the vents are just kind of obnoxious. It's very brash, sort of say, but now for a rally car, that is generally a good thing. And I like the livery. I think the interior is pretty cool, despite the fact we didn't really get to see it, because craftsmanship is iffy. But other than that, I think it is a solid contender on the B spot. Okay, moving on to our next car, the Ruthman Tulip. And I will say, all the subsequent cars we look at, they do qualify for Group B, so I'm not going to spend any time on that. I just want to look a little bit at the design, about the craftsmanship, and just see the care, put into the rest of these builds. Which for this one, it's very subtle. I do love, the wedge design, but unlike the last car, there's not just a bunch of vents everywhere. Just very simple livery, very clean design. I do really like it. I will say the asymmetrical logos here on the livery is an interesting touch. And there are a lot of little Easter eggs around here. Obviously, if you look through here, you can see a custom muffler here for the exhaust, although it's not really connected to anything. Moving through the interior, it's very 80s, very like plush fabrics and stuff. It looks very soft in here. Got the custom roll cage, is always a great touch. The way it fits into everything. And then as you move through, custom intercooler, and then just lemons. Lemons. I did actually look. They are classified as lemon aero. So I guess it's just some kind of aero touch to make the car drive better. But it's just a weird little Easter egg in there. But overall, I think the craftsmanship on this thing is really good. Love the design. It's just very easy on the eyes. But, let's see if it drives well, too. Yeah, I can say as another bonus for the craftsmanship of this car is how well the gauges are dialed. The car does seem very controlled, I will say. Oh, come on, slow down. Slow down. Thank God it can launch out a second. Great. Okay, brake real early here. There we go. Still cut that a little too much. Okay, we got her. This car honestly doesn't make as much horsepower as a lot of the others, even for the class it's in, which I honestly forgot. Doesn't matter. It is still a handful. Oh my God, I'm sorry if you can hear my wheel. I keep mistiming that. Alright, let's see if those aero lemons actually give me downforce. I'm going pretty hot into this section. Oh my... Alright, this car is better than my ability to drive it. So I'm going to give it one more chance, just because it deserves it. We'll see how it goes. There we go, that's what I was trying to do last time. Yeah, this car, once you actually get the hang of it, it does drive incredibly well. The engine sounds great, it's tuned really well. I do really like the way this car drives. One thing I will say as a positive for a lot of these builds is they're tuned in a way that just makes you want to drive it hard. And I don't have the experience with them or just the skill of a driver to, do that. But I'm still going to go flat out. Okay, this... Whoa. Okay, this car does drive incredibly. I'm crashing it because I'm trying to go faster than I can handle. But I'm not going to hold that against this car. It handles well. Alright, and then ranking this thing, I will say it drives beautifully. I've just pushed it a little bit too hard. It's well modeled. It's got really great craftsmanship and, the actual fixtures and the animations and everything. It's a beautiful car. I think it's pretty safe to put this one up in S. Again, if something better comes along, we'll adjust this. But for now, I'm pretty happy with my S tier looking like this. Moving on to our next build, the Dorf Trident. It seems to be a pretty common theme with these, just to make them as aggressive as possible. Like, we already got dual splitters here, these ridiculously long canards. Little, engine scoop here, even though there is, in fact, no engine or intercooler. Because, in fact, our engine is back here in a ute. Yeah, and this box, it actually isn't some kind of, like, intercooler or whatever you might think it is. It's actually just where the engine sits. The engine is just in a box in the bed. I can't imagine what that means for heat dissipation, but, you know, it's interesting. Got a giant wing sticking off here. Kind of technically another one right here as well. So a lot of aero on this build. Diffuser down here. We've got S-tier sponsors here. The interior is very 80s, very, you know, Group B rally, what you'd expect. No floors, none of that. No luxuries in here. And then looking at some of the craftsmanship, there is roll cage sticking through the window. Again, these kind of, as long as you're not making your own custom roll cage, it's kind of hard to avoid these kind of things. So maybe I'm not going to be too strict about that. The camera here is not invisible. It's just kind of sitting there. We have our engine actually just encroaching upon the cabin. And overall, I think I just need to like imagine that this ends up as some kind of a sedan or wagon or something. And then I actually don't mind it, but it is certainly something to look at. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Now this cockpit is just a little cramped. I was actually hoping there'd be some kind of light in the gauges because it's kind of hard to see, but the light actually hits the wheel weirdly. Oh my! Oh wow! That was just from switching to third gear. Oh my! Oh my God! This is gonna be an experience. Let's just gas it. Oh my God! Third gear is. Oh my goodness. Okay. New plan. Baby the thing across the finish line. That's all I can do. Very light on the inputs. Very light on the okay. This thing. You just can't put the throttle down. This is legitimately like the fastest I can push it because I cannot keep control of this car. Okay, let's just try and push it a little bit. We're in fourth gear, holding like quarter throttle. See if this car can do it. It's just a speed thing. Once we're at speed, we get the downforce. Oh, nope. Nope. That one, there was probably a good bit of driver error in that one. This car is something. All right, now to rank the Dorf. Honestly, I think the design it's unique. You know, we've seen that doesn't always negatively impact things. But I just don't really think the Ute just like works for the design of the car, or at least not in rally form. Craftsmanship's a little iffy, and it just I'm not gonna hate on the craftsmanship too much. It's pretty well built in automation, but it does not drive well. Maybe it's just a wheel thing and it drives better on controller, but I'm gonna leave it in C for now. Alright, well the first car we're going to be looking through in this little speedrun is a Lancia Stratos modernized for Group B. Now I will say, in regards to uniqueness, compared to all the other builds we've seen in this video, you know, it's nothing special. It is just a rally car that exists in real life. But, you know, the concept of taking a Group 4 car and, you know, bringing it up to the specifications of Group B is pretty cool, so I will give it props for that. But where this car really shines is the craftsmanship. Because, of course, if you're going to build a Stratos, it's got to look like one. And this car does just that. The livery looks fantastic. The interior looks great. It is actually modeled after the Stratos, so the gauge cluster looks just like it does in the real car. And it's even got a dog box transmission, which, for one, I'm not very good at modeling these things, and it just looks great. Looking over at it, I love that. And also, it does drive pretty well. It's pretty quick on the power, but it just has a few flaws for me. I feel like when I get up to speed, the car gets really floaty. If there's a lot of uneven terrain or like changes in whatever, it's very hard to keep control of the car. And the gearing is a little long. I don't know if the creator modeled it after the real Stratos, but when you're trying to like upshift real fast, you got to let the revs fall further than you think you do. So you end up letting off the clutch and not going into gear and just destroying your synchros. So other than that, I do actually really like this build, and I think it's a solid contender in the A tier. Alright, now the next car we're going over is literally just called the B. It's just a little car with a little V6 and a big old turbo, so I can't hate that. From what the creator said is that the car is slightly based off of a Volkswagen Beetle and a DeLorean DMC-12, which is interesting. But really, in regards to the design, it's just simple. You know, flowing lines, simple fixtures. It leaves a little bit to be desired, but I can't hate too much. The livery, also, there's not a lot going on for that. It's a little two-tone paint job. The interior is, again, pretty simple. Just a wheel, gauge cluster. No, fancy modeled gauges, so craftsmanship is, not the peak of what we've seen, but the car is there, and it drives. Speaking of how it drives, it is difficult to keep control of, for sure. The gearing is actually pretty good, very tight, especially in the low end, or like the lower gears. And it struggles to put the power down, but it's just a little car that makes a lot of power. So because it's in a low class, it's got to have small wheels. Like it drives the way it should, honestly. So I can't hate that, but just the design, it's a little lacking. So I think it's a car that solidly fits like the low B tier. All right, well, next up on our list of 1.3 liter class rally cars, we have the Siege Lys, or Lys, which is basically just Polish for fox because the roof scoops look like fox ears. It's just a little bit of creative ingenuity that, you don't always see in all these builds. And so that does give this build, some bonus points. I also think the design is pretty nice. It's, again, another really simple one, but this one is just, it's done a little bit better. A little bit more care put into all the fixtures, the vents, the fog lights, the livery too. I like the color scheme of it. I like all the stickers and everything. And I also think just some of the fixtures are just placed well. Like the wing, I quite like the look of it, and it lines up perfectly with the B pillars. And I just think the craftsmanship's pretty good. The interior, it's also got everything you need. Working steering wheel, modeled gauges, I quite like it. And so for that reason, I think this build's pretty good, but also it drives unreasonably well, which, it's the focus of these smaller classes to get them to handle well. And so if you can nail that, then I'd say it's a successful build. And this car handles uneven terrain really well. I feel like I can be pretty comfortable on the power, and I just really like how it drives. And so I think it definitely competes somewhere between low A and high B, but I think I'll go ahead and stick it in low A for now. Alright, the final car we're running through real quick is called the Komodo 360. All its creator says is that it was built in a day, which, props to them. It's pretty good for one day of work. In terms of design, I can't say I like it all that much, but I like the shape of it, but especially the front end, it's very brash. It kind of looks like an old medieval helmet. But, I will say the design language is pretty consistent throughout. The same kind of vents it uses on the front grille is found on the back and on the side vents. And I will give it that it seems competently done. The livery is nice. I do like just the color scheme. I think it could have, used a couple sponsors or stickers, and it would have really elevated it to the next level. But overall, I don't hate the design. But I think the interior is really where the craftsmanship comes through, because it's modeled really well. All the pieces fit together great. The roll cage fits into the dash and into the door card, and it's just modeled really well on the interior, which I do quite enjoy. In terms of driving, I actually think it drives pretty well. It puts its power down greatly. It handles itself well over bumps and rough terrain, and I feel pretty competent driving it. And so, for that reason, I think it absolutely, competes for low A. Except you shouldn't have said it was built in a day. I think that hurts you. I think you could have put more time into the livery or somewhere into the design of it just to elevate it a little bit. But I absolutely think high B is a great place to put it. Alright, well, the next few designs we're going to be going over were submitted solely as BeamNG mods, not as automation.car files. That's because there is an application where you can create custom engine sounds. And frankly, I don't blame any of the creators for using it because it sounds pretty good. But, the same process still applies. It's just going around, making sure the craftsmanship is good, and everything looks nice. Which, frankly, for the design of this car, I do really like it. It's obviously, Italian wedge, V12 in the back. You can't hate that too much. I do know its creator, Alexter, is a big fan of Maserati, and so it's pretty clear, a lot of that inspiration was taken on this car. I believe the livery is inspired off of the MC12, I think it might have been. I'm not too fresh up in my Maserati lore. But the car does have, some subtle nods that I do like. Obviously, the driver names back here to make it a bit more of a rally car. The logo here on the fuel door, the powered by Maserati around the car. I genuinely think a lot of the, placement of the vents and stuff are just classy. I think it looks really nice. That also carries over to the interior, where everything just looks really well put together. I think the blue gauge dials that, match the blue on the livery just look really good. The red seats just contrast the livery really nicely. I think it pops in a really nice way. And genuinely, I just really like everything that's going on with this car. Well, you guys can see BeamNG had a bit of an update since I've been gone. Sure, you can tell this is the point where it took about a month from the last part to this one. It's fine. Getting through it. Immediately, this thing does not want to put its power down at all. Even the lightest touch of the throttle and it completely loses the rear. So I'm just going to keep taking it nice and easy. Oh, yeah. Oh. The lightest touch of the throttle pedal. Oh, my God. It's so hard to go fast on the dirt in this thing. I'm like barely even going half throttle. The car just cannot do faster than that. God, I'm barely on the throttle in second gear. Must be really torquey down low, or this thing has horrific tires. Also, I apologize for the sun. Oh my goodness, it's bright. I haven't touched my graphics since the update changed, so... truth be told, I might not have given this car the fairest shot at, getting through that stage. But on a wheel, I just don't have the skills to pilot this thing. Because frankly, I really do like the design. I think the craftsmanship's good. And strictly off design, I think it would go up here in S tier. But I limited myself to 3, and I just don't think it drives nearly as well as the Tulip. And so I'm gonna have to put it in high A, just because I cannot drive the thing at all. Moving on to the next build, I think these last couple we've been going over have been really great builds. Frankly, I love the design language of this one. I think the livery with the Priami colors are really nice. The custom decal is a nice touch. And I know this little design touch with the kind of extended, I don't even know what to say, like the flare, not really canard thing here. We saw it on a previous build. It's still not my favorite touch, but I think it's implemented a lot better on this one. And I really like, the way the strakes kind of continue in from the side of the car to the rear. I frankly just really like the design of the car. I like the livery. I think the interior very much resembles a rally car. Very stripped, very bare, but it's nice. It's got the radio here for the co-driver, and it's got one touch that I haven't seen any other cars do that I really like. Over here with the gauges, go ahead and start the car. This little thing here is a shift light. I've never seen that modeled on any other car. I've never learned how to do it myself. I think that's really cool. I quite like it. And frankly, I think this is just another standout build in this series, and I'm really excited to get this one out on the stage and see how it drives. And I do want to apologize for all the noise here on the HUD. Every time I go in and try and delete things off it, it just comes right back. If I try and change the preset, every time I reload this, it switches right back. Doesn't seem to be anything I can do about it, so I'm just gonna have to put up with that for now. And also the sun is incredibly bright. Okay, no, it's fine. Alright, that. Yeah, I would recommend lowering your brightness for the rest of this video, because that's horrific. I don't know how many of you guys have played Ark Survival, but it's bad. Yeah, this has definitely been a much smoother run. It's got to be a little bit nicer on the power, a little bit, less jerky with everything. Don't upset the balance of the car too much. It'll drive well. One thing I will say, as a benefit to pretty much every creator that's entered something is their cars want to go fast. And they prompt me to really want to put the power down and just absolutely throw them around the course, which oftentimes they're not capable of going 10 cents, especially on dirt. But, you know, they work as rally cars, I will say. Oh, God. Oh, please don't tell me I broke the car. Please don't tell me I broke the car. The cars seem to not want to handle this at all. Oh, not again. God, why is it my mission to just destroy this thing? Alright, to be honest, that was a horrific lap, as you guys can see. This thing actually drives really well. I just pushed it a little bit too hard. Wasn't used to the way it drove, because it's like my second lap in this thing. But frankly, I do quite like it. You know, honestly, the ranking here is where I'm really split with this thing. Because when it comes to the Ruthman Tulip, I think they both drive similarly well, I should say. I really like the way they both handle. But when it comes to the looks, I'm really a sucker for a wedge. But I like the livery more on the Flower. So it's really tough where to put these two. Alright, so I'm just going to pull a mulligan and say these two are actually tied for third. Because I really can't pick between the two. I think they both handle similarly well. They both look great. They both put together really well. And I said they're only going to be 3 in the S tier, but these two are tied for third. So it counts. You know, I didn't want this video to run on quite as long as the last one did, even though we're covering more cars. But regardless, these last 6 we're just going to run through real quick. And the first of the 6 is going to be the Catla Gibbon GRX. Which frankly, this car it's pretty good. I think of its strong suits, I would definitely say the handling is pretty good. It puts the power down real well, it handles rough terrain, it can corner really well. And it's a car that I feel comfortable pushing myself in. It's something I can attempt to go flat out in and not just die immediately. And I will give it credit for that. I think its weak point is a little bit the craftsmanship. The gear levers just kind of float in the air. You know, it's missing a floor, like some bits in the interior. There's nothing behind the seats to give you any kind of visual flair. But for a stripped out rally car, I can forgive that, I guess. The design is pretty good. I do quite like the livery, and I think it's a pretty solid car in the B tier. Alright, well, the next car, the Ibishu Ajaru, I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's another car where I'm actually really surprised how well it handles. I feel like, again, I can push myself in it and just not really fear the consequences as much as I do with a lot of these other cars. So for that, I'll give it credit. I do think the gearing and the engine, the powertrain is just set up really well. The handling's good. It can put its power down. The design, I do quite like. I think it's really unique for a rally car. You know, it seems like something that was built as a rally car first, and then later they would make homologations of it rather than taking a street car and putting it into a rally. So I do kind of like that a little bit. The livery is great. You know, all of the fixtures are in a good spot. The craftsmanship is good. And the interior, it's got a lot of bits and bobs that just show that there's a lot of effort put into it, like the padding over the roll cage and stuff. You know, Maxwell with a beer in the passenger seat. I do quite like this one. And so I think this will definitely fit somewhere in the A tier. Okay, now our next car, the Call It S1, could not be the furthest from the last car. It's a boat, honestly. That's the best way I can describe the way it handles. Again, unlike the last car, it has horrific nose authority. You turn the wheel, even if you're going slow and the front wheels have grip, it just doesn't want to turn. It does make good power. It's got a very American sounding V8, so the way it drives kind of fits it for, you know, the era of American cars that was coming out. So, I mean, for that, I'll give it props. In terms of design, I like the shape of it. Again, it's kind of hard to go wrong with kind of supercar looking shape turned into rally car. I like that. The livery is pretty simple. It would have been nice to have some stickers, but the colors I like. Then the interior, it's a little lacking. It's got no gauges, and there's just not a whole lot going on. It's got the drive shaft running through the seats, you know. It's fine. I think It's honestly, it's pretty easy to drive because you know you have to slow it down a lot before the corner, so it's hard to get into trouble with it unless you really push yourself. But I think it's, again, another pretty solid B car. Well, continuing the theme of this car being nothing like the last one, the Polonia 2500, I feel like it had a really great powertrain. You know, the gearing was set up perfectly. I mean, it revved really quick. By the time you shifted, you're right in the power band. Whereas the last car, I would slow down to first to take corners and still be in first by the time I got to the next one, which is just insane in a rally car. But the powertrain in this one is set up really good. It is, well, it handles good on tarmac, but that's just because it's set up incredibly stiff, as you guys will see in a moment. But yeah, I mean, it drives pretty good if it was set up for a tarmac course. The design is alright. You know, leaning heavily into the body shape is always, you know, a good way to go about things, and so I appreciate that. But the livery just kind of looks like a lot of stickers slapped everywhere, and I do, you know, advocate the use of stickers. I like it, especially sponsorships and stuff. But this one feels a little bit kind of mismatched, a little all over the place. But overall, it seems pretty well put together. I like it. I think it's definitely low B, high C. There's too many names that are in like foreign languages I don't know. This one's called the Epu XK Monty. Don't know how to say it, but you guys get the gist. It's very I really like this one. I think it's incredibly fast. It's one of the few cars that we've seen with a sequential, and it puts the power down immediately. It's probably one of the fastest in a straight line that we've had this series. But again, it just kind of struggles off-road because it is so stiff. Even the lightest bumps just sends the entire car in the air. And it's really hard to drive. It also does not have a lot of nose authority. Like, I feel like even just to get the rear end out, I'll use the handbrake, and it doesn't really do anything. It just has so much grip, and it's so stiff that it just doesn't want to do anything but go in a straight line. And that's fine. I guess you kind of learn to drive around that. But in terms of the design, I love the livery. I love everything going on. It kind of reminds me of an IKEA car, which, you know, all the Swedish colors. I do like it. I think the interior is modeled pretty well. I love all the gauges and all the little bits and bobs everywhere. The seats look good. Why am I going to the seats? The roll cage, you know, fits everything really good. It's got, you know, safety equipment like a fire extinguisher in the back. The craftsmanship's good. Design looks good. Drives pretty good. It's a low A for me. Now for our last car in the series, the Rigel, it's spelled Nigel with an R. You guys can interpret that. 514 RX. Now this car, I actually do like the look of it. I think the livery works. You know, the colors and all, like, it matches all the stickers and the sponsorships and everything, and I do like that. I think the interior, it's pretty simple, but again, it works. I will say there's, you know, a couple issues with the animations kind of going to pieces they're not supposed to be, which is just kind of fun to see every once in a while. But otherwise, the car actually drives really well. It's really well balanced in terms of weight distribution, especially over jumps. It just really stays composed, and it, you know, never lands in a way that kind of screws me over like a couple other cars have. But, you know, I think it drives well. Design's pretty nice. I like the livery. Craftsmanship is pretty good, you know. The interior doesn't have modeled gauges or anything, but it gets the job done. But I think it's definitely another car that fits the B tier pretty well. And after all is said and done, this is our finished tier list. As I said before, there are 2 cars tied in 3rd place. That's why there's what looks like more than 4 cars in the S tier. But frankly, I think, you know, all these cars have been really good. I actually really enjoyed, you know, getting to see all of them, drive all of them, and even though it may have taken me 2 months to get this video out, you know, I enjoyed the process and getting to do these challenges. So thank you to everyone who participated and actually watched this far, you know, all 3 of you, which, thank you for that. I apologize for this taking so long to get out, and I hope you guys are willing to like and subscribe, because I don't know, that's what YouTube wants me to say. Thanks.